Hi, it's Rich Hoffman here. So what do I think about all the drones all over the world, specifically in New Jersey, but apparently they're being spotted everywhere? What's going on? It's a giant UFO event. There's some of them the size of cars flying around. What the heck is going on? And then, of course, nobody in the United States seems capable of explaining what they are. And we're supposed to say, there's things flying around that we don't know what they are. And be okay with it. We think everything's safe. We looked out the window and we're the military, we're the government, and we're telling you not to worry about it. So there's some shenanigans going on, obviously, and I will reflect back where I'm filming this location. This is the old, here's the Butler Tech campus, and I like to film over at the old Swordsville Lake Amusement Park. Not that long ago, within a year I think it was. I did a whole thing about CIA and UFOs and how they use UFOs, and this is based on research I did at Roswell. It's used to drive a narrative, like in Roswell today. It drives economic activity. To have speculation about UFOs, it's fun. It brings tourists to the area, a depraved area that was ransacked, much like Middletown, by globalism and industry left. So they replaced it with a tourism industry driven by the 1947 UFO crash that occurred there. Whatever it was, it brings up a lot of speculation. But it's always convenient to have a UFO story to kind of drive a narrative and get people to look at things you like them to look at while you do things that you don't want people to look at. So there was a UFO that a few days after I did the broadcast that appeared right in the sky, right over, there's a speedway station just beyond the Butler Tech campus. And it hovered over there and then took off that way extremely fast. And it caught some attention. UFO people did some analysis, try and figure out what the heck it was. And it drove some narrative on online debate and had people talking. So was it a bunch of UFO aliens coming from another place and landing to visit us? One of my problems with the whole UFO debate, and I've seen UFOs, that was one of them. There's a lot of AI, there's a lot of NSA computers that monitor everything that's going on, including this broadcast. They listen to everything that goes on. It goes into a big supercomputer, and strategic decisions, tactical decisions are made based on the desired government to control the population for what they think is good. Everybody believes they're doing the right thing, even if they're conducting mass evil in order to do it. So you had this you have this UFO debate that a few days after I did a broadcast, one appeared in the sky, and there's I think a lot of proper assumptions that those kinds of things aren't actually physical objects. They're probably projections, holographic images, images that are conducted by kind of constituting themselves in the molecular structure of air. And what you see may be what you think you see, but it may not be what it really is. And anyway, for it to take off as fast as it did, just defies physics. A light projection could easily do it. That doesn't mean there's people actually in it that could have dealt with the centrifugal force of such acceleration. And then we're supposed to kind of speculate about what kind of devices could allow anybody inside such a thing to deal with that kind of centrifugal force. We're dealing with the same thing here with these UFOs for all the same reasons. I think what you have is a power structure that's been in place for a long time, and it's ruled through fear. And you have a change state election that occurred. A new administration is going to come in and declassify a bunch of things, and it's one last attempt to get control of the situation and rule through fear. And that's why you have all these people who are supposed to know what the heck's flying around telling you they don't know what the heck's flying around. You're supposed to think, oh, there's a mystery, and we need big government to save us from ourselves, because it's a big, scary world out there, and there's UFOs flying around, and we need them to save us from it, from those things. So I think it's a hoax in a large degree. I think it's similar to the UFO I mentioned that flew around this Monroe area when I was doing an exhibition on it, and then it appeared in exactly the same area where I did my debate and talked about it openly. So I think I don't think it's such a malicious force from aliens coming from another planet. I don't think it's some country that is gaining control over our domestic airspace, the way the Chinese air balloon did. I don't know that it's actually governments of the world that are the problem. I think it's internal, deep state, domestic terrorists who have gained control and authority over our government systems, and they don't want to give that power back. And they're looking for a reason to stir people up, scare them into giving them more time, more power, another crack at world domination. And these drones are meant to provoke people towards keeping the deep state deep and intact, and that there's secrets out there that we don't understand, and only they do, and that will continue to give them a new lease on life as the Trump administration comes in. I think it's quite appropriate for President Trump to say, hey, if you see a drone out there, shoot it down. I'd be inclined to do so. I don't want drones flying around my house and, violating my personal space. But I also am a supporter. I like the idea of Amazon using drones. I've been a supporter of that from the very beginning. I like the idea of these delivery services flying around, dropping off little drones, dropping off orders that you make online. I think it's a cool idea. I am fully supportive of it, and I know we have a lot of loose laws right now for drones flying around. And I'm not real crazy about seeing us have a bunch of laws on drones working to make services better for us. So these drones flying around, they're trying to provoke more of a deep state control or continued deep state control over our existence. I don't think they're aliens from another planet that are trying to rule over us. I have a lot of theories on that, not necessarily aliens are foreign. I think we're going to get into space, and we're going to find out that there's a lot of archaeology out there that we're going to learn a lot about ourselves as we move into space and get back on the moon, get on Mars, and see what's going on, get on other moons throughout the solar system that you can actually habitate a little bit. We're going to learn a whole lot. Our scientific understanding is going to expand dramatically. But I do think that with all the Starlink satellites that are out there, all the satellite coverage that we have out there, it'd be very hard for UFOs to come and go as frequently as we see them, and that what's more inclined to be a science of control that established governments or malicious characters within those governments have utilized in order to maintain control over vast populations from their perspective, and that's the rule through fear. And the head of the Trump administration coming back in office during a holiday, trying to stir up the population into fearing what's out there, stir up their imaginations into some negative way that they could exploit for control and advantage, and that maybe they might be able to stave off what's coming with the Trump administration. I think it's all these drones are, these flying vehicles that are very mysterious. I think there's probably a combination of projections, because if you ever see the drone show, they're pretty sophisticated. But some of these drones are really large, and I don't think a lot of people realize just how close flying cars are to reality. If you've ever been to Dubai, you know that they're beginning to utilize them now as air taxis. It's only going to be a few years. China's probably going to be the first to do it because they've deregulated their culture to the point where they can afford to do it without media, lacerating the attempt. There's some of these vehicles flying around over New Jersey are reported to be the size of cars or buses or trucks, and they're very large. But that technology has existed for a long time. It's just taken us a while to kind of get our minds wrapped around it, which we're doing now. So as a combination of a lot of things flying around, but why are they flying around? And nobody in the military seems to know anything about them. No one in the government seems to know anything about them. And Senate and Congress is asking questions, and they're not getting good answers. They have to go observe the condition for themselves. And there's a lot of hokey pokey talk that seems to be tongue in cheek to say, hey, don't worry about it. We got it under control. Go back to Walmart and buy a new TV, and we'll take care of it. We're the professionals. Vote for us. Vote for more power to us so we can protect you from all these mysteries. So, but don't worry yourselves over it. We've got it under control, even though we have no idea how to explain to you what it is. And that's the typical response we're getting. And I see it as nothing more than a useless enterprise of evoking fear for one last grasp for continued power before the Trump administration comes in January and starts declassifying things that have been embarrassing and are going to make a lot of people's careers end because of the way that they conducted their lives when they had the chance. And they let us all down in massive ways, and they're going to have to pay for it. And these little UFO drones flying around trying to evoke controversy and speculation, those are tricks of the past that might have worked back when they did it in Washington, D.C. in the 50s to try and throw power to the military-industrial complex in some negative way that justified massive black budgets. Head in the wrong direction. Those days are over. And people don't have a stomach for those continued speculations based on fear of the unknown. We endeavor to know, and we expect to know exactly what the drones are. And from my experience, the UFO sightings, most of them are provoked by agencies that want to control over mass society, and the UFO stories are convenient scapegoats to drive narrative in a direction they want you to follow, and to get you to chase after it in a way that takes you away from the answer and not to it. And that's what I think is going on in New Jersey and around the world with all these sudden sightings, trying to incite, just like they do a lot of these mass violence incidents, trying to incite speculation of some sort of declassification of information that you see about on Netflix all the time, that UFOs were going to have full disclosure, and that's going to somehow be a bigger news story than Trump is back in office. And I see it more of a grab for attention than anything that necessitates any real concern, because the people who are embarking on such a misdirection narrative are the ones that are getting ready to lose power for good and are going to have a lot of embarrassing days to come because of what they've done over the many decades leading up to this moment. And a fantasy of full disclosure and UFOs playing close encounters all over the world isn't going to save them from the reality of the maliciousness that they have perpetrated among the human race. And payment's going to be swift and brutal, as it has to, because of the maliciousness that they have conducted on the world stage for a long time and wasted many millions of dollars at great harm to people in order to maintain power and control through fear that they've enjoyed for way too long. And those days are over. Anyway, it's Rich Hoffman here. Share, subscribe, make tomorrow a better day. If you haven't read my book, The Gunfighter's Guide to Business, I think you'll love it. Anyway, have a good day. See you later.